So we have this power meeting where we're gonna go over some numbers from July, which means August. And then next agents meeting, hopefully we'll have the numbers. We'll go over the August numbers, which we call September. Right now, it's important to figure out where we are, especially with all the changes. Now that buyers are potentially having to pay the buyer commission, the expectation has become great, and your value requirement has become very high, and people aren't settling for your average realtor. They're not settling for, your brother's cousin anymore. There's a presentation, and what I've been seeing in this new market, not that much different from the listing market in the past, but now in the buyer's market, buyers are starting to shop realtors, right? They're looking online reviews, they're looking at online presence, they're looking at Zillow, on past history, but the point is that they're doing their research all the way down to Facebook and social media, and what you're putting out there kind of gives them a resume whether to even call you or not. And then if you make it to the call, then there's an interview versus, hey, let's go, right? It's not as easy as it was before. The expectation is very high that we have to hit. The bar has been raised. So if there's anything good that came out of all of this settlement stuff, is that the bar has been raised. There's no doubt. And a lot of the realtors that are at a very low bar, I don't think they're going to last. And if they're not keeping up with the stuff that we're talking about, I don't think they're going to last. So here's June, and the bottom is July. So July is most relevant. That is the last printout from LVR. And I was pretty shocked by the last numbers because it felt like the market had slowed down, except that units sold has gone up by like 50 properties. So the amount of closings that we're doing has increased. Um, and we know what happened during July. We had a very, very hot summer, and I feel like the market just completely came to a halt with all that 120-degree weather. But even with all of that, it felt that way, but the numbers was still higher in units sold. That to me, like, was surprising. On top of that, the median sold price went up to 480 from 475. The effective availability went up from 2.0 to 2.2, an extra zero point 0.2 month supply of inventory. So we strengthened in units sold, more closings. We strengthened in price, pending which side of the fence you're on. That's a positive thing. But available units went up also, right? Kind of evening things out. So new listings went up by about 150 new listings from 2,800 to 2,960. And what's strange is that the ask price went down from 509 to 499. So even though price went up, even though sales went up, ask price went down and availability went up. So it's indicators to me that the market has softened a little bit, even with numbers going up. Most people aren't going to analyze it that way, and they're just going to see units sold and then the median price point going up. So the market went up, right? But that's not necessarily true. One huge thing that I saw in the news, I shared it through the review journal. If you guys even look at our social media, that the news shared that, or review journal shared that, we are number one in investment states in the entire nation. So more people are investing in Southern Nevada than anywhere else in the entire nation. And by using data alone and sharing that with your investors, just says that there's consumer confidence in Las Vegas, versus you telling them, yeah, Vegas is a good buy, right? If we're number one in the nation, there's a reason for it. Then we can get into stats and all that, but there's a big difference between, hey, everyone's doing it around the United States versus, hey, I think Vegas is the best, right? And what that means to me is that I think there's going to be some price adjusting in the downwards trend until interest rates dip, and I think they will dip, and then it'll go spike right back up. That is my personal opinion. You guys should have your own opinion on this. And my opinion is based on the trend that we're following, the flattening of the last 2 months, and then the fact that I think interest rates are going to dip. So again, I think we're going to see the results next month of a slower market. I do think interest rates will dip and it'll spike the market back up with buyers starting to jump back in there and take down inventory. And as inventory gets lower, what happens to prices? They go up, right? So that is just my personal opinion. You guys should have your own based on what's in front of you. And then on top of the data, you should incorporate data with experience, right? What are you seeing in the field? And a lot of that is um, just a feeling, and you can't put it on paper. And when I say I have a feeling that the market is going to flatten a little bit, it's a feeling. It's a feeling that I can't tell you exactly. I can't back it exactly with all the numbers, but just what I'm seeing on the pavement and people I've been talking to and all that, in general, and then talking to new builders as well, I think that's happening. There ain't that much new builds out there, guys. Review Journal put out an article a few months ago that we only have 8 years left of land, and that's it, unless Bureau of Land Management releases more. So that's another huge statement that I would put out to the world. Next meeting, I might want to talk a little bit about Rich Dad Poor Dad and Robert Kiyosaki. I got to re-listen to his book because I had to drive to Arizona, and that book completely motivates me, and it was relevant, thinking about my dad and all that. But he was talking about how you make money on the purchase and how you have to be contrarian to everyone else. In other words, if you're an investor and you're thinking like an investor, you see inventory on the rise, market flattening, and inventory growing. To me, that's opportunity. Yes, it may dip a little bit based on what I just shared with you, based on my opinion. But if everything falls in line with the interest rates, that's when everybody else will jump into the market. And you're the opposite of contrarian. You're doing what everyone else is doing. And what will happen? You're going to be involved in bidding wars. And so rather than getting a discount today, getting the incentives today, getting interest rates buy downs today, getting closing costs today, maybe you get a better interest rate without buying it down, but maybe you lose out on incentives and you pay a higher dollar, right? So what's more important to you? And that's kind of a conversation I'm having with our investors. It's like, you can wait. You can wait. Just understand that this is not the flipping game. If the cash flow makes sense today, great. The problem, and Daniel can attest for this, is that it's really hard to make the numbers work when you're utilizing financing. Cash is cash, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you're in it for a long run, I think it's a safe play to get in the market now, negotiate a better deal, and move forward because there's inventory to do that with. Interest rates dip. You know how much people are waiting on the sidelines for that to happen? You guys probably have them in your own book of business. Right now, you have buyers waiting or just shopping and not pulling the trigger. And that's part of the reason. Cash flow, same thing. If you're using financing, not only is it a little expensive right now, but interest rates are on the higher side. So it's hard to make those numbers work without buying them down artificially, etc. But I do think on the flip side that we're looking at today's numbers And yes, you can refinance later or strategize that way. But the one thing that I think is going to continue in the long run is that rent is going to increase.
Thank you,
All right.
Randy.
All right. Thanks, guys. Think, guys. I hope to see you very shortly.